Welcome to the final episode of the Chakra Mandala series. We've journeyed from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, from the physical to the spiritual, matter to consciousness. Today we arrive at the Sahasrara chakra, the seventh and highest energy center in the chakra system. Its name in Sanskrit, Sahasrara, is composed of two words, Sahasra, meaning thousand, and Ara, meaning petals or folds. It literally translates to the thousand-petaled lotus. In sacred geometry, we begin by drawing a triangle in the middle of a circle. Around that triangle, I've constructed 6 circles. These are not merely decorative, they are the scaffolding for the petals to come. They represent expansion, rhythm, and order, the way energy unfolds in layers through the cosmos. Now the work becomes both precise and meditative. I begin to divide each circle into equal segments using geometric calibration. With patience and breath, I mark and repeat. These divisions will guide the formation of petals, creating symmetry and flow. Because this chakra contains 1000 petals, I figured out that drawing 20 layers, each holding exactly 48 petals, makes it to 960 petals in total. And then the last 2 layers, the last 2 outermost layers, which contain 24 petals and 16 petals each, to make a total of 1000 petals. The process is long, but it is not labor. It is a kind of prayer, a surrender to rhythm, patience, and form. Geometry becomes grace, repetition becomes stillness. And here we've finally marked 48 segments, ready to be transformed into petals. At the very heart of the mandala, I draw an upward pointing triangle, enclosed within a circle, an ancient symbol of spiritual ascent. The triangle represents the rising of consciousness, and the circle around it holds the energy in unity and wholeness. I begin drawing the first 48 petals, one by one, like breaths in meditation. Each petal feels like the first unfolding of awareness, delicate and deliberate, setting the rhythm for the 1000-fold bloom to come. Each petal emerges like the first breath of a new day, slow, intentional, and full of quiet potential. And as the petals take form around the center, it feels less like I'm creating something and more like I'm revealing something that already exists beneath the surface, waiting to be seen. It's amazing how repetition, when done mindfully, doesn't lead to boredom, it leads to depth. The deeper I go, the more I feel the rhythm of this mandala, aligning with the rhythm of life itself. In this sacred repetition, something begins to shift within. Quiet clarity and steady expansion. This unfolding is not just on paper, it mirrors life itself. Just like these petals, we too begin from a center, from stillness, from essence. And layer by layer, we expand. Through experience, through learning, through joy, and even pain. Some stages are fast and free, others take time and stillness, but all of it matters. No petal in this mandala is rushed, and no part of us should either. Growth is not a race, it is a rhythm. This mandala reminds me, and maybe it will remind you too, that the most profound beauty comes not from perfection, but from presence, from showing up petal by petal, moment by moment, and breath by breath. We've now completed the first 10 rows, 480 petals, each one placed with care, with silence, with surrender. These 480 petals now form a firm base, not just visually, but energetically, like the foundation of our being, shaped by our early years, our learnings, our wounds, and our resilience. And just as we carry all those experiences forward, these petals too will support the unfolding of the remaining layers. It's a reminder growth doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's slow, disciplined, even repetitive. But within that quiet consistency is grace. That's exactly how we unfold, not all at once, but over time. We bloom when we are ready, when the ground is strong, when the light is right, and when we are willing to open. As I sit drawing each petal, I remind myself these 1,000 petals are not just artistic detail, they are deeply symbolic. The number 1,000 doesn't indicate a literal count, but a representation of limitless expansion, of the infinite possibilities of the consciousness. Just like the 1,000-petaled lotus, unfolding layer by layer, awakening doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual, sacred process, and each petal symbolizes a moment of growth, surrender, or realization. When the Sahasrara chakra is balanced, there is a sense of peace beyond logic, a quiet knowing that we are part of something much greater. We begin to trust the flow of life, find clarity, experience synchronicity, and often feel connected not only to others but to the entire universe. When balanced, something subtle yet extraordinary begins to happen. There's a shift, not loud or dramatic, but quiet and expansive. You begin to feel light, as though A burden you didn't even know you were carrying has been lifted. You stop needing constant answers because you start living the questions with grace. This is the magic of a balanced Sahasrara. It doesn't make you superhuman, it makes you fully beautifully human, yet deeply anchored in spirit. But it's not always like that. There are days or even long seasons in life when we feel lost, disconnected, or hollow from within. These are not always obvious moments of pain. Sometimes it's just a quiet emptiness, a subtle sense that something is missing, even when everything around us appears fine. That's often the whisper of an unbalanced crown chakra. When this highest energy center is blocked or spinning out of harmony, we lose touch with meaning, not just in spiritual terms but in everyday life. You may feel disconnected from others or even from your own self. Anxious, overthinking everything but understanding nothing. Or numb, like you're drifting through your days on autopilot. Some feel a crisis of purpose. Why am I here? Does anything I do even matter? Others experience an overwhelming sense of existential fatigue, not tiredness of the body, but a soul-level weariness. It might also show up as cynicism, a denial of anything beyond logic, isolation even in crowd, or intense attachment to control, resisting flow and surrender. At its core, an imbalanced crown chakra cuts us off from faith, not necessarily religious faith, but the deeper trust that there is a larger rhythm, a guiding presence, a sacred order in the chaos. We become stuck in our minds, disconnected from the heart, and estranged from the divine silence where true wisdom resides. But even in this imbalance, there is beauty. Because the pain is not a punishment, it is a reminder that something within us longs to realign, that the soul is still whispering, still waiting for us to pause, breathe, and begin the journey inward. Because the wisdom of the Sahasrara asks for stillness, silence, a willingness to sit with the unknown. So how do we realign? We begin by letting go. Letting go of the noise of overthinking, comparison, and anxiety. Letting go of the belief that we are separate, small, or alone. And in that sacred letting go, we begin to receive. We receive through meditation, not to escape but to return, to rest in awareness itself. Through prayer or silence, in whatever form you believe, not asking for answers, but simply opening to the presence that is always here. Through moments in nature, watching a leaf fall, listening to wind pass through trees, and realizing that you are a part of this great unfolding. Through breath, the bridge between body and spirit. Inhale, a reminder that life flows through you. Exhale, a gentle release into trust. Through gratitude, not for the extraordinary, but for the everyday sacredness. Warm sunlight, a kind word, a quiet smile. And above all, trusting your inner knowing, that subtle but strong intuition that there is something greater than the self, yet it is not separate from you. When the crown chakra begins to open and harmonize, you no longer feel the need to seek externally for validation or worth. Instead, you begin to experience inner peace even amid outer storms, a deep sense of connection to yourself, to others, to the divine. A quiet, radiant joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, and a graceful detachment, not from life, but from the illusion of control. A balanced crown chakra is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you already are. A divine being having a human experience, grounded and infinite, earth and sky, body and soul. And perhaps in the unfolding of each petal, you are also unfolding back into that sacred remembering. And so, petal by petal, layer by layer, what began as a simple triangle within a circle has now become a blooming universe. Each row taught patience, presence, and surrender, not just to the design, but to the unfolding of the self. The 21st circle brought its own rhythm, and by the time I reached the 22nd, I could feel the silence between the lines. And now, it's not just a shape on paper, it's a threshold, a quiet arrival at something timeless. This mandala is complete, and yet it feels like something is just beginning. In this abstract mandala, I let go of symmetry. No compass, no ruler, only instinct. No outer structure, only inner listening. Because the crown chakra is not about control, it's about letting go, about dissolving the self, the ego, the edges. What does divinity look like? Perhaps it is a shimmer, a whisper, a deep, radiant stillness. As I painted this piece, I found myself stopping often, just to breathe, just to feel. There is no rush here, no destination. The crown chakra is a paradox. It is the highest point, yet it brings us closest to the ground of being, to total presence, to the experience that we are not separate from the whole. We are it. Here I enter the realm of violet and white, the hues of transcendence. Purple, the color of inner wisdom and connection to the divine. White, the symbol of pure consciousness, beyond all labels, beyond the self. With each layered circle, I'm not adding more. I'm dissolving what's not true, moving from thought to stillness, from identity to essence. This mandala doesn't just use color, it becomes a bridge from the earthly to ethereal, from seeking to simply being. And with the crown chakra, our journey through the chakras gently comes to rest, or perhaps to a beginning. From the roots of survival to the sky of surrender, we've explored color, geometry, rhythm, and silence. Each mandala was not just an artwork, it was a mirror of energy, emotion, evolution. May this journey stay with you in your breath, in your pauses, in how you hold joy and how you meet stillness. Thank you for walking this sacred path with me. Until the next unfolding, stay vibrant, stay luminous.